The film commences with a man named Uriel preparing an escape vessel alongside his spouse Lara. She informs him that their home planet, Krypton, is on the verge of destruction. Uriel plans to utilize his genetic material to fertilize Lara's egg. Suddenly, General Zod and his soldiers burst into the room. Lara pleads with Zod not to harm Uriel, and he reluctantly agrees. Uriel holds Zod responsible for the dire state of their planet, to which Zod explains that he had to continue mining to sustain his army. Zod proceeds to fertilize the egg with his own DNA, and they launch the ship, which acts as an incubation pod, away from the exploding planet. The pod travels through space while the egg fertilizes and matures. Eventually, it crash lands on Earth as the child reaches maturity. At the crash site, several military vehicles and a man named Lex Luthor arrive. Luthor requests the contents of the ship, but the sergeant informs him that it was found empty. Luthor orders them to transport the ship to Star Labs, emphasizing the gravity of the situation by declaring it a code black scenario. As the men search for the ship's contents, a man and his wife manage to escape while carrying a baby. Years later, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman infiltrate a bunker where they encounter Special Agent Trevor. Trevor advises them to refrain from taking action, but they disregard his instructions. A fight ensues, resulting in the defeat of their adversaries, and the trio proceeds to breach another section of the bunker. Just as they do, Trevor and his men arrive. Trevor expresses his annoyance at their actions, but Superman argues that they did him a favor by eliminating the terrorists and recovering stolen files. Subsequently, a crowd protests against the Justice League, with reporter Lois Lane claiming that they pose a danger. Superman ignores her comments and turns off the holographic television. At that moment, scientist Silas Stone enters the building, and Superman approaches him. A strange beacon activates and lifts him into the air. In the Arctic, a man is collecting data from a device when he hears an unfamiliar sound. A gigantic robot emerges from a portal and begins pursuing him as he tries to escape on his vehicle. The robot catches up with him and launches an attack while he attempts to flee. Later that night, Dr. Palmer engages in a conversation with Ryan about molecular miniaturization. As he drives away in his car, the robot suddenly strikes. It leaps onto his vehicle, forcing him to descend a hill. Palmer takes cover behind a tree, but his phone rings, attracting the robot's attention. It appears behind him and launches an assault as he screams. Meanwhile, Batman converses with his close friend Will and Will's wife Tina. Will implores Batman to assist in the search for Palmer, and Batman reluctantly agrees. Silas works on an invention and tests it with his son Victor. He recounts his encounter with Superman to Victor before a robot infiltrates their facility. As they defend themselves, the robot knocks them down and proceeds to demolish the building, resulting in their deaths. The following day, Trevor and his men arrive at the scene. Superman and Wonder Woman show up as well, with Superman entering the premises. He scans the area and discovers the skeletal remains of Silas and Victor. Batman communicates with him through their earpieces, urging him to return due to the presence of other deceased scientists. They regroup at the Hall of Justice, where Batman reveals the deaths of Victor Fries and Dr. Palmer. They realize that someone is attempting to frame the Justice League, as the scientists' deaths resemble the abilities of the League's members. Superman instructs Wonder Woman to gather information from Trevor, while he asks Batman to monitor the media. That night, Batman infiltrates Silas' office and searches through his computer. He uncovers that the scientists are under the influence of Lex Luthor and experiences a flashback as he gazes at a photograph. Batman, also known as Kirk, appears in a photo with other graduates, receiving advice from Lex, who advises them not to waste their talents. Will urges Kirk to attend a party that night, and though hesitant, Kirk agrees. Kirk eventually falls asleep in the lab, and Will and Tina wake him. They invite him to join them, but he initially declines, claiming to be close to finishing his work. Tina manages to persuade him, and they head to the party. After the party, the trio returns home, and Kirk comes across Will's nanites project. He asks if they can replicate the nanites using biological material and begins to talk before passing out. In the hospital, Kirk apologizes for not informing the others about his illness. Will reviews his research and suggests that the application of nanites can enhance and activate it. They leave the hospital and return to the lab, where they test the serum on mice with successful results. Kirk decides to inject himself with the serum, and they take him home. Will talks to Tina, expressing concern over Kirk's ongoing illness. He asks her if she will ever take care of Kirk the way she cares for him, and they hear a scream from the room. Will and Tina rush into the room, finding it destroyed, but Kirk is nowhere to be seen. Kirk walks down an alley, where a group of men attempts to rob him. Suddenly, he gains strength, his skin pales, and he defeats the assailants. He pins a man down, grows fangs, and drinks his blood. Upon seeing his reflection, he stops. Batman hears a noise at the door and leaves, just as the janitor enters. The next day, Lois Lane engages in a phone conversation with a man, asking multiple questions about the military's investigation. Superman floats beside her office, and she allows him to enter. She questions why he is in her office, and he explains that Silas used to work for him before his death. He expresses his desire to show her inside the Justice League tower and offers to carry her, but she insists on driving. Superman accompanies Lois to the tower, showcasing various items. He shows her the pod that brought him to Earth, admitting his limited knowledge about Krypton. The damaged files within the pod depict the destruction of Krypton, featuring Zod in the footage. Superman reveals that Zod is his biological father. Lois suspects that he is feigning remorse and attempting to manipulate her for positive press coverage. Offended, Superman explains his unwavering commitment to justice due to the hardships he has endured. Wonder Woman enters the scene, informing them of an incoming call. Lois leaves the tower, and Superman and Wonder Woman converse with Amanda Waller, the President of the United States. Waller reveals that the forensic evidence suggests their involvement in the scientists' deaths. She claims to be attempting to protect Superman, but he asserts that he and the Justice League are the ones safeguarding her. That evening, Batman arrives at Will's residence and overhears an argument between Will and another scientist. The scientist claims that the Justice League is attempting to eliminate them, but Will dismisses her concerns, causing her to storm out. Batman engages in a conversation with Will, inquiring about Project Fair Play. He mentions discovering an email on Silas' computer referencing the project and asks for its relevance to their current predicament. Will assures Batman that everything will be fine and sees him off, promising to keep himself and Tina safe. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman enters a gym where she meets Trevor. They engage in a sparring session, and Wonder Woman inquires about the forensic evidence implicating the Justice League. Trevor refuses to divulge the information, implying that Superman would disapprove of their intimacy. This statement upsets Wonder Woman, leading her to assert her independence and physically confront Trevor. He apologizes as he stands and reveals that Palmer's body was discovered bisected, with suspicions pointing to Wonder Woman's sword as the murder weapon. Wonder Woman recollects her marriage to Orion of Darkseid's son and seeks guidance from High Father. She expresses unease around Orion, and High Father advises her to remain steadfast and rest. As High Father departs, Orion appears and convinces Wonder Woman to accompany him. They embark on a flight around the planet, and Orion presents her with an indestructible sword as a wedding gift in a special location. They proceed with their wedding ceremony, but High Father and his forces launch a surprise attack, resulting in the deaths of Darkseid, Orion, and his people. Enraged by the violation of sparing Orion's life, Wonder Woman chooses to depart and employs the sword to teleport away from the planet, venting her anger by slicing a machine. Numerous reports connect the scientists' deaths to the Justice League, prompting Lois to discuss the matter. Superman and Wonder Woman watch the news, and Superman storms off in frustration. Batman flies to Will's residence and eavesdrops on conversations among several scientists regarding Project Fair Play. A robot emerges, engaging Batman in combat. 2 additional robots enter the house and mercilessly murder the scientists, while Batman tries to intervene. Tina also falls victim to the robot's assault. However, Superman and Wonder Woman arrive, engaging in battle with the robots until they teleport away. Batman and the others tend to Will's injuries and contemplate their next course of action. Batman suggests that he knows someone who can provide assistance, prompting Superman to fly into space. Superman infiltrates Lex Luthor's expansive spaceship, where Lex discloses that Project Fair Play was devised as a means to eliminate Superman. He reveals that the files pertaining to the pod are fabricated, and showcases how Zod forcibly fertilized Lara's egg. Superman becomes enraged, and Lex justifies his withholding of information to prevent Superman from imitating Zod. Lex warns him to exercise caution as Project Fair Play has proven successful, providing them with a means to kill Superman. Superman departs from the ship, and a robot infiltrates and destroys it. A satellite captures the incident, leading Waller and her team to believe Superman is responsible for Lex's demise. She orders the evacuation of Metropolis and initiates Project Fair Play. Superman notifies the others of their unknown adversary and the need to identify them. The military surrounds the Justice League tower, and Trevor instructs the League to leave. Superman and Wonder Woman step forward, while Batman activates the building's shield. Unexpectedly, Tina approaches Batman and launches an attack, incapacitating him, while Will's robot captures him. Tina proceeds to Will and administers a peculiar substance into his body. Superman engages in conversation with the soldiers and refuses to surrender. They decide to attack him, and he sustains injuries from their laser fire. However, Wonder Woman comes to his aid, and together they fight against the army. Batman regains consciousness, and Will reveals that he used the organic nanites to heal himself. Batman inquires about Tina, and Will discloses that he killed her a year after their marriage. He admits that Tina loved Batman and confesses to turning him into a monster. After killing Tina, he experienced a revelation and conceived a plan to connect everyone's minds using nanites. The other robots enter the room with a nanite bomb, and Will states his intention to use Superman's pod to power it. Outside, Superman and Wonder Woman battle the army, but Superman is subdued. Trevor warns Wonder Woman to lower her sword or he will kill her. Just then, Lex appears, explaining that he managed to escape before the robot could eliminate him. He reveals to Trevor that Will is responsible for the scientists' deaths. Superman relentlessly attempts to penetrate the shield protecting the building. He ascends into the sky and plummets back to Earth with tremendous force. Batman breaks free from the robot's grasp and deactivates the shield just as the large robots are about to attack him. Batman evades their strikes, but they capture him, and Superman comes to his rescue. He confronts the three robots, which merge into one, teleporting around him while delivering blows. Superman discovers their boom tubes and obliterates them, preventing the robots from teleporting. He hammers the robot into the ground and destroys it using lava from the Earth's core. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman engages in combat with the Tina robot, and Batman fights against Will. Batman exploits his stealth against Will, landing multiple punches. Wonder Woman impales the Tina robot and teleports it into the sun. Batman subdues Will and attempts to defuse the bomb, but he fails. Wonder Woman intervenes and stabs the bomb, causing the ship's core to destabilize. Superman arrives, carrying the bomb out of the planet, and hurls it, resulting in a massive explosion. Will seizes the explosion and apologizes to Batman before using a device to disintegrate himself into dust. Time passes, and the world regards the Justice League as heroes. Superman proposes an end to killing, a notion Batman contemplates. Wonder Woman enters and announces her intention to address unresolved issues from her past. She kisses Superman on the cheek, and Lex arrives. Lex offers Superman the original files from his ship, asserting that they can benefit the Earth positively. Lex and Wonder Woman depart, leaving Superman and Batman to prepare for their mission of aiding the world. The end. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.